Good morning. It's your girl, the beauty influencer, also known as Just Joy. And it's Tuesday, and you know what that means, that it is time for Tea and Wild Thoughts. If you've been here before, you already know I'm going to get the vibe right. Got my orange blossom incense going this morning. I've got my lavender and birch in the oil diffuser. Ooh. Know I'm all about self-care. Gonna have a little Palo Santo. And so, yeah, Tea and Wild Thoughts is about 30 minutes of dialogue. Just sharing my wild and free thoughts and whatever's on my mind this morning. And what I'm going to talk about this morning is a little, I wouldn't say complicated, but it's interesting. It's interesting. So anyway, I had a pop-up this past weekend in Charlotte, and it was pretty cool. Like, we had a really good time. Good morning. Quite a few people came out. I launched some new products. You can definitely check them out on the site soon, because I haven't even had time to really put them up on the site yet. But this is, thank you. It was fun. My lemonade scrub, adorned with these beautiful lemons. It's got like a neroli fragrance to it, and you're not gonna be able to really see, but there's shimmer in there, like a gold shimmer. And I always have my lemongrass body butters from the self-care store too. They smell amazeballs. And so yeah, check that out, link in my bio. So anyway, this morning what I want to talk about is social selves. So like earlier in the week, if you follow and you in my IG stories, there was a moment with my dad and I where we were talking about, bringing your social selves, and how you kind of, every group that you go into, you kind of mold, or you may have a different social self than when you bring your authentic self. You may have to filter it a little bit. I'm a person who definitely tries to bring my authentic self into every situation that I can. But I will admit that, when we were discussing this, it definitely made me think a lot more about groups, types of groups. My father was a sociology professor for years, so he tends to come from the group angle, and I tend to come, a lot more as an artist. I tend to come a lot more from the individual angle and the authentic angle. Normally I end with a wild thought, but I'm going to kind of start with this one as we kind of get into the conversation. So there's a subtle difference in someone being comfortable and someone being comfortable with you, right? Like, again, I'm a person that I think people tend to feel pretty comfortable with. Again, I'm pretty comfortable with myself. I'll pretty much, tell you whatever, as long as I'm comfortable, with you. And a lot of times, because of me being an introvert, I am comfortable in a one-on-one dialogue, with a person and getting to know them. And I've noticed, good morning, I've noticed over time, every time I go back home and I go back to Charlotte, I have a different level of awareness, right? I think, anytime you can step outside of a situation and look back into it, you can, you have more perspective. You have a wider perspective, bigger perspective. And, when I was doing makeup, it was definitely a one-on-one experience all the time, right? Like, I'm touching your face. I'm working on your face, like, how much more intimate, can you get? But people, they feel comfortable with you, right? They feel comfortable with you because you're having this one-on-one time. Okay, let's say that I have an event where I'm there, but now you're with me in addition to all these other people. And so what starts to really happen is that we're challenging our social selves versus our authentic self, right? Like, I'm not going to be, for instance, I don't really want my mom watching Tea and Wild Thoughts. I already know that she is going to get a totally different side of me, than she's used to. And that's not a bad or a good thing, it's just the is thing. But yeah, I'm a little different with both my parents than I am, with you guys, and just being transparent about things like sex, things like, just experiences I've had in my life over time. And so, it's interesting that sometimes we can see someone else, right, in a scenario with someone else, right? Like, let's say you've been introduced to, perfect example, you're dating someone and you go and meet the parents, right? Like, you're gonna see a different side of this person. And sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, like, I want that part of them. I want the way you are with them. I want you to be that way with me, right? And so that's what I'm saying. There's such a subtle difference in being comfortable with that person, things do switch up, and we do switch up, and again, as much as I would like to say that I'm always just this way, and I'm always myself, I definitely can see myself at times kind of transforming and going into these social spaces, and you could get a little bit of a different me, or a different side of me, I would say. But I'm always conscious of the me that I am. I think that some people kind of go into these situations and we conform so much. And if you don't know who you are, then you can't really hang on to that part of authenticity either. And sometimes people will get mad, and that's part of what my dad and I were talking about, that if you go into certain groups and you can't conform and you can't deliver their expectations on some level, they may just reject you. And I think that's a part of a lot of fear that a lot of us tend to carry. It just depends on how much weight you have in that group, versus your authentic self. Good morning. So I was just saying, like, every time I go home, there's a new awareness. I can see there's nothing wrong with Charlotte. There's nothing wrong with where I'm from. Again, I'm just having experiences that are pushing me outside of it. And a lot of people that I was connected to there, in the space that I was in at the time, I could see them still grappling, with trying to get their peace and trying to hold on to their peace. And as they're evolving as people, changing, our careers change, our lives change, events in our lives, all of this changes us, right? Like, experience is going to grow you, period, And again, are you bringing that authentic self to each experience, or are you letting the experience define, who you are? And that's part of what my dad was saying in these clips, that, regardless of what groups we go into, you are carrying that authentic self with you all the time. And like I was saying, I do think that a lot of people get lost, into these groups, I know some people who get into sororities, get into these groups, and you could just see that they just really light up. Good morning, Miracle. They really light up, and because they feel like this big sense of belonging. Yes, because sometimes our different groups expect the same, and only you that they know, but you evolve, so it's hard, but you still love and care for those people. Absolutely. I mean, the way I was talking to my cousin this weekend, we sat down and we had dinner, and he's much more of a people pleaser than I am. I'm the rebel of the family. of course, and I've been talking about having some issues with family. And I would like to say that, I've been kind of kicked out, but I voluntarily kind of walked away. And I still love my family. I know they love me. But again, now they're being introduced to more of who Joy is authentically versus who they've had in their head. As I evolve and I change, it changes things, And you were saying it's hard, but you still love and care for these people. Again, they love me, I care for them, vice versa. But it's like we have to kind of get to know each other all over again. Girl, dress, put on your I have to, but at the same time, again, this is a group. To me, a family is just a type of group, and so that's what I was saying with my cousin, that I was telling him that basically when I look at myself compared to most of my family, I'm the one who has experienced, divorce. Only myself and one other set of my cousins have even dealt with divorce in our family. Not even my parents have dealt with divorce. So, and yes, it still affects me until this age in my life. And so I'm done with showing up in certain groups, particularly my family, as if I'm not a person who has experienced these things. I can't just keep acting like I'm just like you guys, because I'm not. And actually that is very depleting and defeating to, try to show up and act like I'm not a person who's experienced trauma. And that's one of my notes right now, the self that I present in every situation I come into is, I have to own all the time that I'm a person who's experienced trauma. And that's not victimizing, this is way more in the survival mode. But that means that, I'm coming with emotional needs that, others may not have or whatever, but I am responsible for protecting myself, all the time. And I'm so much wiser about how I do that. And again, I think that I'm such an advocate for self-development, knowing yourself, loving yourself, doing what you need to do for your damn self, because that's always going to be the best way you go into any group, whether that's your family, college groups, social groups, church groups, it doesn't matter. You have to know who you're dealing with, and you can't really give anybody all the responsibility of knowing how to handle you when you don't know how to handle you. They have to get to know you on your terms. Yes, opposed to what they thought of you or the past you. Every day, every week, every month, every year, we should have growth, and not everyone experienced that. All the snaps to that. All the snaps. Like, you definitely said that. Totally agree. I think some people too, they really fight to stay the same, which is kind of strange. To me, it's a little strange. Some people I see and have created levels of distance with. I see them just kind of trying to fight to control their world and, keep it the same. One thing I accepted a long time ago and quite a while ago is change, because life is there's nothing on this earth that isn't going to change. That's growth. Growth is change, and fighting to keep things, just the same it's kind of wasted effort to me. You got to learn how to flow with the changes, how to find the beauty in the changes. And that's it. What else can we do? I mean, fighting change is again like pushing on a brick wall. I mean, it's gonna happen. At some point you gotta just accept, that this is what's happening. And we get so depressed and stressed, and again, we think we're in control. We're not. Not really. You're in control of yourself. You're not in control of all these situations. And I'm the rebel of the family as well. I'm the captain of my ship, and the only God has led me to control my ship. And again, especially, right-wing Christians, and, I tend to, it's amazing. You can't have fear and faith in the same context. You can't say you're such a faithful person and you're scared of everything and scared to experience life and scared to talk about things. And I don't believe that. It's such a joke to me. So a lot of times people will use religion to try to control. And it's like, isn't that like the ultimate test of faith, is to step into situations, that you're kind of fearful of and allow God to work. Something I watched a long time ago, and I'll give this gift to you guys. It's called The Strangest Secret. Okay, The Strangest Secret's on YouTube. It's by this guy, Earl Nightingale. And it's interesting because this is done maybe in the 40s or the 20s or something really fucking old. And he's talking about how, in our lifetime, 5%, I think, of us will reach an authentic idea. Have an idea, see it come to completion. And the reason, and that's 5% out of, let's say, 25%, 25 of us, one of those people is going to bring their idea to completion. Throughout our life, we're all going to get distractions, right? We're going to get married. We're going to have kids. We're going to get a job. All these things will start to pull more of you and your authentic self because they become kind of distractions through that time. And again, the more that we get these things, it's going to be more challenging all the time to hold on, to who that authentic self is and evolve and grow. And it's something that, I feel like when you're listening to it, it's kind of like, he never really expected Black people to listen to this or even be able to really perceive it and accept it. But very, very interesting video, life-changing in terms of just the way that I see things. Check that out, The Strangest Secret. I'm a person who, of course, I'm 38. I've made the decisions I've made. I don't have any regrets. I don't know, all the time if I want, traditional husband, kids, all of that. That's just me, because I really do enjoy my life and I really do enjoy the freedom that I have to continue to explore myself. And even if I do get those things at this point, I really do feel like I've also done enough work and lived enough and have had enough experiences to really know, how I want to govern myself in these situations as well. And not just conforming to the stereotypes, or, American ideas of what marriage or motherhood looks like. That's just me. So yeah, I've learned a lot more, even going home this weekend and hanging out with certain people and seeing them and, the whole nine. I've learned to protect myself a lot more. I've learned to continue to own, exactly who I am when I'm coming into these social situations and social selves. And also learning, that you just can't please everybody. Everybody's not going to be on board as you're evolving. And all of that shit is okay. When you are okay with you, a whole lot more is going to be okay. That's what I can definitely tell you. Yeah. So it's just interesting how, I can definitely see that a lot of the situations that I've come into, people are, again, very comfortable with me. And have been very comfortable. Almost too comfortable. I would venture to say that as well. Almost too comfortable with me. when I know, I was talking to my mom and telling her, and I think I've discussed this maybe the last time, that what I've noticed about being a person who's experienced different levels of trauma, and we all have on a lot of levels, when I'm one-on-one with a person and I'm listening to them, and I'm like, they're thinking, oh my gosh, because people love to talk about themselves. That's another tip. People they love to talk about themselves. And so I'm sitting back and I'm listening to them and I'm genuinely interested, but I'm kind of scanning that person. I am literally saying like, okay, well, at some point, this could be a situation that could be a little uncomfortable for me, or this is a part that I'm not so much want to deal with. No judgment on the person. I'm just learning how to handle myself in any situation. And so this person may feel like, oh my gosh, they're she's so comfortable with me. She makes me feel comfortable. I'm comfortable with her, and then later on, they may do something and get a guarded sense from me, or something that feels like, a boundary, a very clear boundary. And they may feel like, well, what happened? Like, what is going on, or what changed? And it's not, again, that I don't like the person, but while I was getting to know them and they were just talking about themselves, I've already determined, how I want to function within this relationship. And so that's just something interesting that I've explored about myself as well. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I was telling someone lately, the Bible says guard your heart, and then you find that, people may do the most trying to get you back, to a place where you feel that comfort. But again, once you've seen something or experienced scenarios with people, you can't unsee it and you can't unknow it, especially if it's going to be something that's triggering to you or harmful to you at some point. So that's just interesting. I think you have to be okay with people just not in your social selves, in your authentic self. I think you have to really be careful and be conscious that, again, everybody's not going to like every part of who you are. Everybody's not going to be accepting. Everybody's not going to have the capacity to deal with your authentic self. All that is okay, again, when you are okay with you. So feel free to message me anything that I've talked about today. Me and my dad are probably going to be able to kick back up on Thursday with our dialogue with the dean conversation. There's been a lot going on over the past. July was intense. It was intense, but he was even asking me this morning. He's like, I want to talk about race. I'm like, okay. So hopefully on Thursday we can get back to that. Wishing everybody an absolutely wonderful day. And yeah, hit me up. Always around, always here. This is Tea and Wild Thoughts. I didn't even tell you what I was drinking today. This is the arrowroot with agave. What I will tell you is this stuff will clean you out. It's very tasty. Cinnamon, arrowroot. I'll show you how to make it one of these days. I'm headed to the gym today. Don't forget to check out my site. And this is Tea and Wild Thoughts, your girl, beauty influencer. Social sales is what we talked about today. If you have any topics you want to talk about, hit me up in the DMs. I'm here. So, wishing you a wonderful Tuesday. Hopefully we'll see you next Tuesday. And have a wonderful, wonderful